All right, so this is the 16th problem in the grind 75. This one is called Ransom Note. We are given 15 minutes for it, and so we're going to begin the countdown now. So let's go. Okay, given two strings, ransom note and magazine, return true if ransom note can be constructed by using the letters from magazine, and false otherwise. So each letter in magazine can only be used once in ransom note. So we've definitely done a problem like this before, but what we were checking for was if every letter and every count of that letter in one string was the same in the other string. We just didn't care about order. Now we want every count of every letter in this string to be less than or equal to every count of every letter in that string. So I forget, I'm trying to think of the optimal way to do this. So I had counts. Sets do not have repeated values. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so I believe it had that int char array aspect to it. So we got to remember what that looked like. Let's see. 26. So we have just lowercase letters. And I believe what we did is yeah, okay. So let me write down some notes. So int of 26, size 26, just all lowercase letters, single for loop, which we can actually just make the length of the ransom note. Ransom notes dot length. And basically what we did is every time we would char at, yeah, we would just do char at the point in the string, which I believe is constant time in Java. And we would say ransom dot char at I, and we would add to the correct spot in the into the array. Then if we had, then we would look at the same spot in the magazine, and we would decrement at that the correct letter. So imagine if we were looping over these two right here, we would say for the length of the ransom note, we would start at index 0, look at the char at index 0 of the ransom note, and we'll increment the value in our integer array at the correct spot. So that would be, to get the index of that, we would have to do a, lowercase a is the first character. We are only dealing with lowercase characters. So we would do character minus a minus, I believe this is what it was, and it has to be single quotes for, and it would be that index in int. we would say that right there, we'd say plus equals 1. Can we do that? I believe we can do that. So we have integer integer 0 at index 0 would give us that. I mean, otherwise we could just have this on the other side and say it equals to itself plus 1. We do the same here, and in the end, we want to make sure that there's either leftover values in our integer pool, or actually, let me see. That would still require us to go all the way through magazine. So let's see. Maybe we could have a continue statement for continue. So we would actually iterate over magazine.length. And if we got to the spot where we had exceeded the length of ransom note, so if I is greater than, that would be ransom notes dot length minus 1, then we would simply continue through this statement. Which would mean we wouldn't actually, we can just check. We don't have to do continue. That's a little bit fancy. If I is less than ransom, in that case, we would add it to the char, the ransom. We would increment the correct position in the char array. Otherwise, we would just decrement that. Okay, that should work, but that's going to be O of n. But we're going to keep the space down to a minimum. So, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is create that char array. So we're going to say integer array of size, or no, this is just going to be called char counts. It's going to be equal to a new int array of size 26. And we're going to say for int I is equal to 0, while I is less than magazine dot length, and we're going to increase the correct value only if our index does not exceed ransom note dot length. So then we're going to say ransom, or char counts, I guess. Char counts sorry, let me think about this really quick. So you want to get the character at And okay, yes, so I see what we're going to do. So at the position that we want to get, so this would be ransom nodes.char at current index, and we'd have to take, if A is the starting point, would we subtract A after it? I believe A would go before. Awesome, A is our starting point. No, A would not go before. It would go after. Yeah, character A. So char counts at that specific index, we want to plus equal 1. And then we want to do the same for magazine, but this time we're going to decrement. And we want to make sure every value in magazine or in the char counts is 0 once we've gone through all of magazine or above that. So we can just do this constant time for loop to check for integer. Actually, we can just say for int count in char counts, if count is less than 0, then we're going to want to return false. And if we've gotten through the whole thing and we have not gotten to a point where we have used more characters than we've been given. Actually, I think I mixed up. Well, we can simply change the logic. This will add to our bank of characters. This will subtract from our bank of characters. If there is ever a deficit in the number of characters, then we will want to return false. Otherwise, we want to return true. Okay, the logic is there. We just need to account for any base cases. For int count, char counts. So if we had 2 empty arrays, make this, we would return false. No, they would all be 0, or they would all be 0, so we would return true. A and B, let's see. We would add char counts. We'd actually subtract from A for the ransom note, and then for the magazine, we would add to B. And for integer counts, if any of the counts is less than 0, which the very first one is, then we will return false. Otherwise, we will return true. And that seems to work for me. I will run the example to make sure there's no syntactical issues. And what do we have? Magazine. Oh, it's a string, so I have to use parentheses. Okay, did I have any other errors? Number 5, ransom note is also a string. Okay, those are the only 2 errors, so let's run again. Okay, that works. Okay, let's see, output is true, expected false. So let's see, we input, so we take A, B, and C, and we're only given A and B. but I outputted true and we should return false. Oh, magazine. Yes, this is easily fixable. So I assumed that magazine would always be longer than ransom note, but we can say we're going to check if it's within the bounds of magazine as well. Magazine.length. Magazine.length. Then we're going to do this. Okay. And we can actually just say whichever is greater. So we can say math.max of magazine.length or ransom notes.length. Do that right there. Okay. And we'll go, yep, so that should work. So let's just submit really quick. All right, so that is my implementation of ransom note. And this has been the 16th, I believe. Is that right? 13, 14, 15, 16th problem of the grind 75. Okay.